Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week, we take a look at how players will be affected by what they eat, drink and the environment. Star Citizen Live takes us through the speedy process of how they edit planets, plus 3.8.2 is released, which brings with it the Carrack and long-term persistence. So before we begin, Alpha 3.8.2 is now on the live servers, and with it brings the incredible Anvil Carrack, but also long-term persistence. Now this saves the state of your Alpha UEC balance and items, components and ships you have purchased. This means that when a new patch is released, we will not have to start from scratch every time, but it doesn't mean that wipes are gone forever. They still might need to perform a wipe if something comes up that is ultimately detrimental to the patch. But this is a step in the right direction to full persistence, which is great news, and hopefully this brings a lot of new players back. Now unfortunately we don't know whether CIG intend to wipe between 3.8.2 and 3.9. I personally think they will try not to if they don't have to, but we will have to wait and see. But with that, let's all jump in and start playing. So on Inside Star Citizen this week, they first looked at the actor status system, which is coming in 3.9. Now they said they want to avoid the system being tedious and they want to make it fun and rewarding. Star Citizen, they say, is not a survival game. This is just another addition to fleshing out the verse further. So this system essentially will encompass anything that can affect the status of a player. For version 1, we know it'll be food, drink and temperature. Beyond that, there will be more additions in later patches that'll affect things like illnesses, drugs, alcohol, that sort of stuff. On Inside Star Citizen this week, we get to see how the various conditions will affect your character based on what they have or have not eaten or drunk and how long they have been exposed to the elements of the environment. Now they don't want it to be something that always gets in the way of the player, but it is something that you'll have to consider depending on what you want to do. They want us, the player, to have a realistic response to the environment we're in and change the way that we play based upon the places that we're visiting. Now I love that sentence just because we're going to have to plan ahead and gather the equipment that we think we will need based on how much we know about a location, maybe requiring us to research the destination first. For example, if we have one of these missing person missions like the missions we have now, if that mission takes you to a cave on Aberdeen, those who don't realise the environment of Aberdeen is extremely hot won't think to grab a heat suit and will have to waste time flying back and forth to get the equipment. Whereas those of us who do know or have researched it in the first place can ensure that they have the tools before they set off. Now the devs designing the team have been learning as much as possible about medical effects, reading scientific journals to get a good basis of what they are trying to do so that it can be grounded in reality. They learned a lot regarding humidity and how it can stop you regulating your temperature, or how the wind chill can drastically affect the temperature. And the way that it will work is that every room or planet will have a temperature. These will be affected by the location's humidity or wind chill, which will then give us a readout so that we can see what the apparent temperature is. This will then affect your body temperature, and if that begins to go too far out of range either way, you'll begin to suffer from either hypothermia or hypothermia, either being too hot or too cold, and obviously all the symptoms associated. So if you get too cold, you'll begin to get sensitive to light and shiver, very similar to what we saw at the CitizenCon demo. If you get too hot, your breath will get raspy, your vision will sort of appear to be swimming, and eventually, if untreated, both can kill you. Now, not all player effects will be negative, however. There are some buffs and debuffs gained from things like food and water. A chocolate bar, for example, may increase your stamina regeneration. Medical edibles could give you a slight health regeneration. They really want us to consider and plan for the mission and location that we want to go to, and this is something that I strongly agree with, and I just cannot wait to get it in our hands. Now, something I did notice in one of the clips was how the snow was building up on the player's suit and backpack. Hopefully this is coming to 3.9, so depending on the environment you're in, the build-up will be different. Obviously, areas like Microtech, which is snow, you'll have a build-up of snow. Places like Daymar, it'll be dust and dirt building up on your suit. I don't think this feature is 100% confirmed, but seeing it in Inside Star Citizen, there is a strong chance that we will get it in 3.9. For the latter part of Inside Star Citizen, we heard about the hows and whys CIG determine whether a feature will make it into an upcoming patch or not. This is done in what's called a go, no-go meeting, in which the teams come together and review whether the features are ready or not. Now this doesn't mean that we won't see features that are still work in progress. Sometimes they just want our feedback on a feature in an early state so that when we get our hands on it, we can let them know our thoughts and help guide them in the right direction. The roadmap roundup is one of the ways that lets us know why a certain feature got the no-go, which is a way for CIG to be more transparent, and I think it works very well rather than a bad surprise when you open up the roadmap and think things have slipped. A good example of this, of something which has slipped, is the new targeting methodology, which got pushed back to 4.0 from 3.9. It currently works great, they said, but the UI which comes with it will not show it off in its best light, so it's been pushed back to 4.0 until the new building blocks UI is implemented. Anyway, that was it for Inside Star Citizen. I really enjoyed it this week, especially the player status stuff. Very much looking forward to getting my hands on that. And on that same token, here are some food and drink images that we got as subscribers, which we will see in 3.9, each of these having their own effect on the player by either a buff or a debuff of stats, likely available to be purchased from vendors around landing locations. Anyway, let's move on. So on Star Citizen Live this week, they took us through the process of how developers can quickly edit planet surfaces using this Planet Tech version 4. Now they use color maps to help speed up the process of editing the surfaces of the planets and moons, and using this new Planet Tech, they can paint the surface of a planet in a small 10 by 10 kilometer area with various presets which can then totally change the look of that planet, not just locally but across the whole celestial body based on certain parameters. On stream, the dev literally took Daymar, the moon, and made it into a snowy moon and then back to a desert moon in literally a few minutes. Now this system is incredible and allows the devs to really create realistic and believable environments based off of certain rule sets to ensure that it's accurate, all the while easily noticing any irregularities. Now it can seem a little dull watching this for an hour, but this new Planet Tech is just beyond amazing and will allow CIG to generate these moons and planets quickly while maintaining a high level of quality and with very few problems. It is obviously far more complicated than I am able to explain, but ultimately this is what will drive the generation of all the systems in the verse, all the planets, all the moons, and will allow CIG to get it done in a reasonable time frame. It's always something CIG managed to do where they create tech that not only makes stuff look much better, it also allows them to speed it up and allows for performance to be through the roof. If you are interested in watching it for yourself, I highly recommend it. It's similar stuff to, but it's basically what we heard, but in less depth at CitizenCon. I will link the video below should you want to watch it. So also this week, Instruments of Surrender Part 2 is available to read. We have a new infographic which illustrates our current play habits while mining. And finally, there was a new Traveller's Guide to the Galaxy which showcases the new moons of Microtech. Now I have got a separate video coming out early next week, which will take a look at each of these moons because they are looking incredible. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.